I'm leaving him for my ex, and I don't like that he's so upset about it. Ah, like that's such a weird title. I, 22 female, was in a relationship with Mark, 23 male. I don't know if I believe in something like soulmates, but if they ever did exist, we were the closest thing to it. Even though someone can be right for you, it can still be the wrong time, and that's what it was. It was the wrong time, so I broke up with him through the most painful breakup of my life, and I told him that if it was really meant to be, then we would find each other again, and I would give us another chance if the time was right. Then, months later, I met Luca, 25 male. It wasn't really meant to be anything, and I told him that from the start. I told him that I just wanted a friends with benefit at most, but nothing more. I wasn't ready for anything more. He asked me why, and I was honest, and the conversation went a little bit like this. I have unfinished business with my ex, and I know when the time comes, I'll need to close that door, so it's not fair to anyone if I start a new chapter with you knowing that the last one isn't finished yet. Why not finish it now? Because I'm not ready. When will you be ready? I don't know. Well, whatever, I'll wait for you. You would be waiting for a while. That's fine, it's worth it to me. I can't lie and say that I don't have feelings for him. I can't lie and say that there isn't something there. There is. I don't think of Mark when I'm with him. It's just us, and that's how I like it. So there's definitely something there, but it's a commitment I'm scared of. It had been 5 months with him, and he stopped asking me to be his girlfriend around month 3 after I said that if he asked me again, I'd have to step away. We had fun, gone out, and done everything couples would do, but I didn't let him get too close. Anytime it got serious, I reminded him it wasn't exclusive and that in the end, there was no strings attached, at least not on my end. I told him many times, and I told him to keep his options open for others. I told him he could get hurt if he put all his eggs in my basket, and that I didn't want them anyways. I was open, I was honest. He said he wouldn't mind getting hurt by me, and that in the end, he knows what he's doing. Looking back, maybe I should have just ended it there. Now Mark is back. We ran into each other at the gym, and we talked so long that the triangle from my pre-workout stopped before I even touched away. It was like everything came back at once. The time, the energy, the love. He asked me to go to lunch, and I was reluctant at first, but eventually said yes. We talked so much, our food got cold, and the ice melted in our drinks. He told me about his life and all of the changes, all of the differences. It felt like almost all of the obstacles that were once in our way were now gone. Then I told him about my life, and I told him about Luca. Mark asked if I would still give him another chance, and I told him I would have to think about it. I told him I would need time. It destroyed Luca to hear about it, but I warned him. I told him this would happen. I told him he would get hurt. I was honest. How could I have been more transparent? He's 25. He makes his own decisions. So why do I feel guilty? I'm not his mom. It's not my fault, is it? I waited 3 weeks before officially breaking whatever Luca and I had off. I needed time to think and time to see that Mark was really ready. We're not in a relationship, but we're seeing each other. We're getting closer again. We're getting back to where we were and where we left off. Luca called me the devil and said that if there were ever anything good about him being with me, it was that he knows now to never make that mistake again. I can't say I'm not sad. I'll miss him, but I don't want to feel guilty anymore. I want to focus on my future, and I want to focus on Mark. It'll be okay, but I'm sorry, Luca. Bro, sometimes, men don't listen to women. Like, she told you this whole time that I'm emotionally unavailable and I'm still stuck on someone else. And he didn't want to hear it. Bro, she warned him. She told him that I love another man and I don't want to be with you that way. And he's like, I can handle the hurt if it's from you. Get out of here. Hurt yourself.
I stalked my husband for 2 years before I formally met him. I, 24 female, married my husband, 28 male, about 1.5 years ago. The first time I saw my husband, I was a freshman in high school. He was a freshman in college. He was walking his dog at the park when he stopped to talk to my brother, 27 male, because they happened to go to high school together. That was the moment I became hooked. That same day, I found his Instagram, his family's social media, and also where he lived, since my brother offered to walk him home while I tagged along. When I got home that day, I knew I wanted him, but of course I was only 14 while he was 18, so I came up with a plan. I found out his younger brother was only 1 year younger than me and would be attending my current high school. I figured that I had to befriend his younger brother by any means possible next year when he moves up as a freshman, while I become a sophomore, and I did. It took around halfway of my junior year when we became best friends, and he invited me over regularly to his house to hang out. This is where I was able to befriend my current husband's mom, and God, did she love to talk about him. From her, I found out what college he goes to, his past girlfriends, what his elementary/middle school was, his favorite/least favorite foods, his pet peeves, what he likes, etc., etc. Eventually, when when my visits started getting more and more frequent, I formally met current husband again. Current husband, I'll call him E, would come over every other week and stay for either Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Sunday. On those days specifically, I would wear my cutest outfits to impress him and also joke around a lot with him. Eventually, I befriended him as well. A little background on E. He is the school record holder for a certain sport at my school, which I just so happened to do. And around halfway through my senior year, E came back during the season to help coach the current high school athletes, which included me, in order to get some more volunteer work hours in, and I got to spend a lot more time with him. I loved every second of it. We were friends before, but then we became much closer since I got to spend lots of extra time with him after school, where sometimes he would even drive me home since we lived relatively close. Fast forward to when I had to move away to New York City for college. E moved with me since he coincidentally got a job near my college. Edit, I lied. It wasn't a coincidence. I found out he got a job offer and applied to a college nearby his workplace. Being each other's only friends in a new state, we became incredibly close. Your face, Lauren. We started dating when I was almost a sophomore in college. He proposed to me after I graduated, and we just got married almost a year ago. He knows absolutely nothing about how I truly know him and believes it is fate that brought us together through his younger brother. Lately, I've been debating on whether or not I should tell him, or at least his younger brother, the truth, since the only reason I befriended him was to get closer to E. I feel guilty every time he tells others our love story, because the truth is, I've known him for 10 years, while he's only known me for about 7. I don't like this.
I was in a van that rolled 3 times on the highway when I was a kid. The first thing I'll tell you is that everybody survived, which was a miracle because my grandparents did not believe in seatbelts. And my parents would turn around and put their seatbelts on, and my grandparents would grumble about how there weren't seatbelts when they were children, and then they would take their seatbelts off very quietly. And my parents would put them back on, and my grandparents would take them back off. It would happen repeatedly. And the most annoying part about all of that is that afterwards, my grandpa was like, "See, I told you I don't need a seatbelt," when he came out okay. And we were like, that is not the proper takeaway that you should be having. Of course you need a seatbelt. You were in the ICU for 3 weeks. And he was like, I was. And we were like, yeah, we thought you were gonna, you know? And he said, oh, well, just because my mind's ready to go doesn't mean that I am. And I thought, who did I get my anxiety from? Who did I inherit that from? Because it definitely wasn't you. So my grandparents were fine. I was fine. Everything happened very fast and very slow at the same time. The car rolled 3 times and it stopped on its side. It was caught by the little fence divider between the highways, which was great because it kept us from rolling into oncoming traffic. And I still don't know if I passed out, bonked my head, or if I just like closed my eyes really hard. But I remember opening them up after the van stopped rolling and my eyes locked down on the ground. I was dangling from my seatbelt from the corner of the van because it stopped on its side, and I saw my stuffed animal, and I unclipped my seatbelt, and I dropped down on my feet, and I reached down to pick up my stuffed animal. And what you also need to know at this point, when the van spun out of control, this happened in the winter time, somebody called 911 and they were like, hey, I need to schedule an ambulance. And 911 said, why? And they said, something bad's about to happen. And they were right. So the ambulance was already on its way before the van even rolled. But also people pulled off on the side of the road and rushed to the van to start pulling us out of it. So I was bending down, about to pick up my stuffed animal, and a pair of hands grabbed me from behind and yanked me out, which I was furious about. I was like, I was just in an accident. You're not allowed to remove me. And they said, you were standing up. It's fine. They pulled my younger siblings out of the vehicle, and they were shivering so bad that they put them in an ambulance for no other purpose other than to keep them warm, which is the right way to offer that information to somebody. What you don't do is wait for the mother to do a head count of her children and then tell her that those kids are in an ambulance with no other information when she asks where they are. We did all go to the doctors, obviously, to get checked up on, see if anything was wrong with us. My brother and I both had to get our head checked. I remember my older brother had to get a CAT scan, and I told the doctor, I was like, we haven't wanted to get his head checked for a long time, so it's a good thing this is happening. And my mom was like, that is not funny, but it was hilarious. But the weirdest part of that experience overall was how it affected me in life, because I wouldn't have even listed that as a traumatic experience for me. But whenever I would see a really bad accident on the side of the road after that, I would picture myself in the accident unintentionally. I would have these like really visceral images of me being in that accident, and I would imagine the hands pulling me out of the car. And I didn't realize that they were flashbacks. I just thought, oh, it's me and my wild imagination. It's running away with me again. I really need to learn how to better control my thoughts. It's just so interesting how your brain will bury stuff away from you to keep you safe from it, and also torture you with it for the rest of your life. Obviously, it's still like lingering in me somehow, but I feel fine. I'm not like, ooh, scary, you know?